Think about what it is like to play a game or a sport against a stronger team. How can you win? In the War for Independence, George Washington and his soldiers had to fight Britain's powerful army. To win, they needed careful planning, courage, and help from other countries. At the start of the war, the Continental Army was not as large or as strong as the British Army. British soldiers had better training and better weapons. The Continental Army, however, did have some strengths. American soldiers were fighting on home ground, and they could use their knowledge of the land to plan attacks. They had a cause that they believed in and support of other patriots. They also had a great leader in George Washington. In the spring of 1776, the soldiers of Washington's army forced the British out of Boston. The British did not give up, though. In August, they defeated the Continental Army in the Battle of Long Island near New York City. Washington's army had to retreat from Long Island. Retreat means to move away from the enemy. As his army retreated, Washington needed spies to keep track of the British. Captain Nathan Hale of Connecticut volunteered. Hale was sent to spy behind enemy lines, but he was captured and hanged. His last words are now famous. "I only regret that I have but one life to lose for my country." Washington's army marched through New Jersey and into Pennsylvania. George Washington was worried. He only had about 3,000 soldiers left. Yet, the British could not destroy the Continental Army. As long as Washington could keep his army together, he could prevent the British from winning the war. Washington wanted to win a battle so that his soldiers would not give up. He planned a surprise attack on an enemy camp in Trenton, New Jersey. On the night of December 25, 1776, Washington and his soldiers rode across the icy Delaware River to New Jersey. Just after dawn, they attacked Trenton. The soldiers were still sleepy after celebrating Christmas the night before. Washington's army caught them by surprise and took almost 1,000 prisoners. Patriots were overjoyed at the victory. A victory is the defeat of an enemy. In June 1777, the British began a new attack from Canada. General John Burgoyne led an army south toward Albany, New York. An army of Americans prepared to stop the British near Saratoga, New York. When the two armies met, they fought two fierce battles. A brave officer named Benedict Arnold led many attacks against the British. The Americans won and first forced Burgoyne and more than 5,000 of his soldiers to surrender. Before the Battle of Saratoga, Benjamin Franklin had been negotiating or meeting with the French to get their help. After Saratoga, the French believed the Americans could win the war. The French sent money, soldiers, and a strong navy to help the Americans. As the war went on, Spain, the Netherlands, and Russia joined to fight against the British. The victory at Saratoga was good news for Americans, but there was also troubling news. Washington's army lost 2 battles in Pennsylvania, and the British captured Philadelphia. The British settled into warm houses there for the winter of 1777. The Continental Army stayed about 20 miles away in Valley Forge, Pennsylvania. American soldiers suffered at Valley Forge. There were no huts at first, only tents, and men slept on the frozen ground. Food was scarce. Most of the soldiers went barefoot. Many soldiers died of disease. Washington's leadership helped keep the army going during the difficult times at Valley Forge. He worked hard to get the supplies the army needed. By spring of 1778, his soldiers had more food and were wearing better uniforms. Washington's army was ready to fight when spring came. A German soldier named Baron Friedrich von Steuben had joined the army at Valley Forge to train the soldiers. Von Steuben taught the Americans to march together and use their weapons properly. The men of the Continental Army became good soldiers because of their training at Valley Forge. In their next battle, the Americans fought well against the British Army. With the help of France and the men such as Steuben and Lafayette, it looked as though the United States could win the war. The Continental soldiers fought hard during these difficult early years of the war. They kept alive the Patriots' hope of independence.